And also this hour, we're going to welcome back an artist that we both think highly of, and you especially, I guess.
I think she's fantastic. Her name's Stacey Kaniuk. I did an album for her. Well, she wrote all the songs, and she sang them. And wait a second, I guess she did the album, and I produced it for her. But man, it was a great experience. What a great artist she is. And she's going to be coming to town with a couple of other great artists to do a show.
Larra Skye and Ash and Bloom are the other acts on the bill. The Long Shadow Tour coming to the Rivoli November 29th. So we'll find out all about that on In Depth Radio, Newstalk 1010.
You're listening to In the Studio with Bob Reid and Blair Packham on Newstalk 1010.
Crying in the half moonlight over what I can't decide. Trying to put my finger on it before I see the morning light. I've never been the one to know what's wrong until it's right. Help me understand it. Help me get it right.
We're welcoming into the studio 3 acts, one of whom is a good friend of ours. She's been with us a couple of times before, and some new voices, I guess, to introduce you to. Stacey Kaniuk is the aforementioned old friend.
Hello.
Young lady that you are.
Thanks for having me back.
Nice to have you back with us. Blair Packham, of course, produced your album.
He sure did.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, Bob.
Conflict.
That's why I'm here.
Conflict here. I will not be asking any questions of Stacey Kaniuk.
You will recuse yourself on that line of questioning. And with Stacey, Larra Skye.
Hello.
And from Ash and Bloom, James Blumendahl.
It's great to be here.
You are all welcome. And the reason the 3 of you are here together is the 3 of you, your acts, because James, you're half of a duo, are on the road together. You're doing a series of shows called the Long Shadow Tour. One coming up here in Toronto at the Rivoli on Thursday, November 29th. So put that into your books and smoke it or whatever it is you do. How did the 3 of you guys come together?
Actually, it's interesting. Lara and I connected, I'd say fairly recently, but we actually went to high school together. We grew up in the same town, and we sort of connected years later through music in Toronto. And I'll let Lara speak to how she knows Matt and James, because she introduced me to them as well.
That's a very good question. How do we know each other?
We both have projects that are going to be coming out in early 2013, and they're produced by the same people. Mark Rogers and Karen Kozowski are producing both, so they introduced us to each other.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So that's okay, because that actually was a question of mine. How did you guys both come to be produced by Mark and Karen? So now I have to ask you individually. Thanks a lot. I thought it was a question. Anyway, okay. We'll save that one. Well, that is very interesting, though.
Yeah.
So and the tour is called the Long Shadows Tour. Who came up with the name, and what does it mean?
I did, and I just realized how foreboding and scary it is.
It's ominous.
Because I know that, Stacey, your music can be really introspective at times, but for the most part, it's a barrel of fun. But if these other guys aren't,
Not fun at all. It's been
on stage, I don't know. It could be very foreboding, as you say.
They look kind of goth, so there could be that.
Very serious.
But that's not the case at all. Lara, you came from, at one point, a jazz background, we understand.
Yes, I did. I started playing jazz, I guess, in my teenage years. And then I put out an album a couple of years ago that's all jazz vocal. It's all original songs, but very much like a jazz production.
Oh, great! So it was. I wasn't aware that it was all original songs. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So bringing, in a way, the singer-songwriter tradition to the jazz world.
Yeah.
And the album had quite a bit of success, didn't it?
Yeah, it was awesome. HMV got on board, and I don't think they normally were promoting independent artists, and just someone heard about my music and loved it. And it happened to be someone at the head office, put it across Canada. Yeah,
and it became the top independent jazz recording of 2006.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you followed that recording up with any subsequently, or are you working on that right now?
Well, that's what I'm about to release.
Oh, great.
And
okay.
It's been a few years of writing and just figuring out my style. And right now I'm going back to sort of my roots as a songwriter, 14 years old playing coffee shops.
Right.
I'm bringing that back. So I've got my acoustic guitar, and that's sort of what I'll be showcasing at the Rivoli.
Great.
And James, Ash and Bloom, you guys are predominantly writers.
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of writing over the last 3 years. Me and Matt met and formed another band that toured together for 3 years before we kind of started the Ash and Bloom thing. And through that, we did a lot of touring across Canada, kind of learning how we wanted to do a live show. But then when that band folded, we realized we really wanted to go back to some of the songs that we'd grown up loving, and we were huge fans of Simon and Garfunkel, and we realized that to write songs that were going to be anything close to how much we love theirs, we were going to have to spend some serious time shedding that songwriting. So we started working on that a lot.
I like hearing that.
Yeah,
I like hearing that people believe they have to work at songwriting, because a lot of people who I deal with in workshops and classes, they seem to have the idea that it just sort of falls out of you and everything is genius and so forth. And sometimes that's true and it's fantastic, but it's rarer than we like to think, maybe.
One thing I really like, if I can say, about Matt and James is not just the crafting of the songs that they do, but in terms of the writing, but you'll hear like an idea of theirs, and then we just had our first kickoff show for the tour in a town called Williamsford, and we sort of got a chance to hear how they've created like they said, creating the live show, and the way they sort of interact with the audience, and they bring in, I saw them unloading. It was an acoustic show, and they unloaded so much gear into this tiny cafe. We had a toy piano. They had a what was the thing with the?
We use a cajon with a kick pedal.
With the kick pedal.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like both of them are like organ grinders on their own. Like he's got the guitar, he's got a toy piano. They're singing harmonies. They're looping. They're getting the audience to sing parts, and the song just like takes off. And you think, wow, that was just two of them that created that.
Oh,
but
that's awesome.
It's a real interesting show.
All of that and somebody getting kicked in the cajon at the same time, which, boy, we all know how painful that can be. We will take a quick break here. We want to hear more about the live show. The Long Shadow Tour is its name. Stacey Kaniuk, Larra Skye, Ash and Bloom on the bill Thursday, November 29th at the Rivoli. We'll be back in the studio right after this on In Depth Radio, Newstalk 1010.
This is In the Studio with Bob Reid and Blair Packham on Newstalk 1010.
Driving down an open road, trees and fields are flying, sun is low.
And we are back. With us in the studio, Stacey Kaniuk, Larra Skye, and Ash and Bloom's James Blumendahl. All three acts are appearing together under the banner of the Long Shadow Tour, coming to the Rivoli on November 29th. That's Thursday. We got this sort of skinny on all three acts. What's the show like? Is it a full band thing? Do you perform individually, acoustically?
Well, I think if I got this right, I think Ash and Bloom are going to do their show, the two of them, which, as I mentioned before, is quite a
Action-packed.
Multifaceted.
It's multifaceted.
Yes.
Lara's doing an album showcase, so she's going to be, I guess, treating people to a sort of a sneak peek of her album. So that's a full band show.
Oh, great.
I'm as well doing a full band show. There's a 6-piece band with sax and organ and drums and all that stuff. So we're kind of trying to make it go big or go home.
That's great.
As well you should.
Well,
Yeah.
the Rivoli is a great place to do that because,
I think so.
It's not only that proscenium sort of box stage,
Yes.
but great sound.
Great sound,
Yeah.
great
Yes.
vibe. I love
Yeah.
all the twinkle
Beautiful
lights.
vibe, yeah.
And it'll be nice because we're doing the tour and we're doing everything acoustically. And then up until that point, we're going to sort of build the songs up a little bit. And we'll have had the chance to, I think it's 4 dates or something before the Rivoli show. So
Including the bustling burg of Williamsford.
it was a
Yes.
bustling burg.
Was it? I've never heard of Williamsford.
I had never
Where
heard of
is it?
Williamsford either.
Yeah.
They have their own post office.
They have
Oh, so
Yeah.
things were rocking.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a three-level
Stamps and-
three-level bookstore, also an old mill, also a restaurant and a cafe and a performance venue.
all in one
It's everything you
building.
could ever hope. Everyone should just live there because it was
One-stop
huge.
shopping.
It's gorgeous.
Wow, if they built like condos around it, then it could be like all within
could be
100
the
feet.
town. Yeah.
Wow. I got a plan.
Is there more of this kind of collaboration going on among independent artists, like joining forces and hitting a number of dates together? Would you guys say?
I feel like it is, and maybe that's just because we're doing more of it ourselves, but it's a fantastic way to hit the road. It takes some of the burden off of, one, it's a ton of work. We know that. We knew that going into it, and we're realizing it more and more every day, trying to promote more than one show at a time and hit all the radio stations and the posters and the flyers and the Facebook events and the, just the general legwork that you need to do. But spreading it out amongst three of us, we can all reach out to our individual fans. And we met some of Lara's fans at our Williamsford show, and they were so generous and warm and friendly. And that's a crowd we wouldn't normally have, sort of tapped into. So I love working, together on this sort of thing.
And I think too, like we're all friends. We just have such a great time together.
Yeah.
And after the show in Williamsford, like we just couldn't stop playing music.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Like
that's
we
nice.
just played music all night. So
The owners of the restaurant gave us the key to the place and said,
Old
just lock up when
piano.
you're done. And we had all the guitars out, upright piano. We stayed up till 3-something in the morning. Everything from old Genesis covers to Christmas songs to whatever we could think of we were doing.
That
and that
sounds
piano
great.
was so out of tune.
It was so out of tune. It was fantastic. But yeah, that's the sort of, we just couldn't get enough of each other.
That's great. Well, what a cool vibe, and the full band aspect for two of you, Stacey and Larra, comes to the Rivoli, and Ash and Bloom doing their or what did you say? Organ grinder.
Organ grinders. that takes
Yeah.
away from what
We'll have to
they
see
do.
if James and Matt actually like that description.
We'll
I
take
take that
it.
back.
We'll take it.
Multifaceted was probably a better
We'll go
way to
with
put that.
All right. Again, that's at the Rivoli on Thursday, the 29th of November. We will put links up to all three of you guys, your acts. It's weird because we have two of you and half of you. Anyway, it will all make sense. Best of luck at the Rivoli.
Thank
Sounds
you
like
so
a
much.
great
And
night.
thanks for having us.
All right, we better get out of here. We'll say thank you, Nick Mirano, for technical production and for taking care of the podcast business. Remember, every show is available from newstalk1010.com or through iTunes as a free download. We'll do this again next weekend, Saturday at 8, Sunday at 10. In the Studio is the name of the program, right here on In Depth Radio, Newstalk 1010.